Hey, howdy, Stoner fam. Welcome to another episode of the Cannabis Man podcast. Thanks for clicking on the show. I'm your host, Don Kleppen. And if it's your first time here, welcome in. This is a podcast where we try to take a journalistic look at all things cannabis. And there has been a lot to talk about these last couple of years. And it's a fascinating time in the U.S. and around the world as society at large rethinks its relationship with cannabis, a plant that's been around for thousands of years and has many, many medicinal uses as well as recreational benefits and stuff that we're really just starting to scratch the surface of as we get some more legitimate government-funded research. And even now, cannabis sits on the Schedule 1 substance list in the federal government. So as a recent guest that I spoke with put it, they being doctors and scientists who would like to be doing this kind of research, they still really cannot. They're not free to pursue the kinds of questions regarding cannabis that I think we'd all like some answers to. Things like how beneficial is cannabis really to people struggling with sleep issues. But there's been a lot going on, and I like to bring all those discussions to you. I like to talk about these topics, and I like to interview experts in the field, anybody who's on the front line of this green frontier that we're all kind of walking through right now, this new space where cannabis is more normalized, as new businesses and researchers are doing new studies, and as new government officials are taking responsibility for bringing these state-run programs up into the 21st century and into this year and into legality. It's just a fascinating time, and I like to try and keep on top of it as much as I can on this show. And I have just such a guest for you today. This is Jim Higdon. He is one of the co-founders of Cornbread Hemp, a Kentucky-based farm. Two cousins decided to start growing hemp products when the Farm Bill passed a few years ago, and Jim has some really fascinating perspectives on both the cornbread mafia, which was this fascinating trial out of Kentucky that had to do with hemp farmers and people who were growing cannabis, and that was in the early 2000s, and Jim kind of covered that, and it launched him into the cannabis space, and now him and his cousin are making some really excellent products at Cornbread Hemp, which you can try. Anybody, anywhere can try because these are hemp-derived products. There's no THC in them, so I'll tell you how to get your hands on those, and Jim has some really interesting information to share with you in this week's interview. Another major news headline out of the NBA this weekend. Maybe you saw this, maybe not, but the Players Union of the NBA and the WNBA representing players, the union reached a new collective bargaining agreement with both leagues. And part of the new collective bargaining agreement says the NBA is not only removing cannabis from its banned substance list for players, which is wonderfully progressive and I love it, beating the NFL to the punch in a major way, by the way, but that's not where they're stopping. That's not the end of it. They're allowing players from both leagues to partner with and endorse cannabis products. I mean, this is major stuff. So I'll talk a little about that later in the episode, as well as the news joint wrap. Going to share with you some news stories from around Illinois related to cannabis, some events coming up, and more. All of that right here on this 45th episode of the Cannabis Man podcast. Here we go. Yeah, that's right. That's the theme. I hope you're, wherever you are, whatever day part you might be listening to this, and wherever you are in the world, I hope that you're enjoying a good vibe right now. Life can be tough, and stress is one of the things that can easily get us down. It's anywhere you look for it, really, and cannabis, as well as other things in life, like good music and good company with the people you care about, and just stepping outside into nature on hopefully a nice day. These things are some easy ways that we can kind of deal with the stress that builds up and tends to take us down as we journey through life like this. So I hope that theme puts you in a good mood, as it does me every week, and let's roll on to some cannabis talk. Well, let's roll right into the news joint wrap. This is a collection of news stories and events related to cannabis in and around Illinois, and it's all curated for you by IllinoisNewsJoint.com. Think of it as the joint you can hit for all your Illinois cannabis news and reviews. And let's start with New Era collecting for charity and hosting a vacation giveaway. Jason Brown, who started Illinois News Joint posted this March 28th. New Era Pekin recently collected over 150 coats for the Salvation Army and more than 1 ton of food for United Way. New Era also works on other charities with Pink Heals Peoria for breast cancer awareness and the Center for Prevention of Abuse for WHM fundraiser, as well as working with Howard Brown Health Center, a local motorcycle club, and more. New Era is giving away a free trip to Jamaica. The 420 Jamaica Ganja Vacation giveaway. What an exciting opportunity that sounds like. It's an all-inclusive vacation package for 2 in Jamaica, provided by ganjavacations.net and New Era dispensaries. The grand prize package includes round-trip flights for 2 people, 4 days, 3 nights stay at Luna Sea Inn Resort, Ocean View room, which includes breakfast, airport pickup, and special smoothie on arrival, Montego Bay Herb House visit after the airport, a ganja farm tour, as well as nature-grown greenery and sceneries, complimentary items provided by Luna Sea Inn, and Jamaican-style breakfast every day. The giveaway contest started March 28th and continues until midnight, April 20th. There are more entry details, or you can enter the contest with a link at IllinoisNewsJoint.com. Another event coming up this summer, High Minded Events is hosting annual Higher Love. High Minded Events is scheduled to host the 2023 Higher Love Pride Month kickoff. This is Thursday, June 1st. The Higher Love event is a, quote, interactive experience designed to spotlight brands, discover new opportunities, and network with like-minded connoisseurs. Love that term. Haven't heard that before. Phil Cooper, owner and founder of High Minded Events, invites all LGBTQ plus bud tenders, buyers, and their allies to come kick off Pride at the 2nd annual Higher Love. It's an annual event allowing bud tenders and industry pros to engage with brands while celebrating the joy of a Chicago summer. Sponsorship opportunities are still available. The event is scheduled for 6 to 10 p.m. at the Palm House in Evanston. Love Evanston. If you haven't been to the Palm House, that's reason enough to check out this event. It's located at 619 Howard Street. Cooper believes if high-minded events create the experiences that are approachable, safe, elegant, and informative, that more people can be responsibly introduced to cannabis and ultimately broaden the consumer base and their own horizons. I added that last part myself. You can find out more information about this at IllinoisNewsJoint.com as well. And then there's a great piece here that was put out just a few days ago, April 2nd, from when I'm recording this on April 4th, how Illinois cannabis taxes are spent. And this was also put together by Jason Brown. One of the comments he says they get the most at Illinois News Joint, especially after publishing monthly cannabis sales totals, is where's all that tax money going, or why aren't the potholes fixed, or some version of those sentiments. And recently, the Cannabis Regulation Oversight Office, or CREW, if you like, which I do, it coordinates among all agencies involved in the direct regulation and taxation of Illinois' cannabis industry. CREW launched a new website that gives a breakdown on how cannabis tax dollars are spent in Illinois. Well done, CREW. Their website, the Illinois Department of Revenue, posts monthly updates there on how the Cannabis Regulation Fund gets distributed. Taxes from adult-use cannabis sales, including wholesale taxes and retail taxes at dispensaries, get collected into Cannabis Regulations Fund, which are then distributed by statute and spent by the fiscal year budget. Now, Jason has a pretty extensive breakdown here, but I'll go through a few examples. First, the money flows into administrative expenses by the state agencies implementing cannabis. Some of those would include Department of Financial and Professional Regulation, Department of Agriculture, Illinois State Police, Public Health, Revenue Department, Criminal Justice Information Authority, and the Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity. Secondly, and this is more crucial here, a portion of the funds are available for expungement processing, and the remaining funds get transferred out to other state funds, which include reinvestment. These would be referring to those R3 grant funds that my most recent guest, Representative LaShawn Ford, was talking about in last week's episode. If you haven't heard it, listener, I suggest you go back, but these Restore, Reinvest, and Renew grant funds are funded by Illinois' cannabis sales tax dollars, and those are getting reinvested back into the communities, the ones that are meant to be most benefiting from cannabis sales, the ones that were disproportionately impacted by the war on drugs, namely Black and brown communities, right? They're the ones that are supposed to be benefiting most from Illinois cannabis sales, but so far they have not been the ones benefiting the most. As LaShawn Ford said last week, it was mostly rich white men who were in a position with the medical cannabis sales to be up and running when recreational cannabis started, and that's how we got the big three, or the Chicago cartel, if you like, which is what some of my other guests have referred to these MSOs, the multi-state organizations, as, those namely being Green Thumbs Industries, Cresco Labs, and Verano, Curaleaf. These major operators, which are going around in different states besides Illinois, those were the people that really benefited from cannabis so far in Illinois, and those the heads of those companies are most of them rich white people. So the fact is, the social equity component of Illinois' cannabis law has not yet really benefited the communities that it was most meant to. And these are 3 grants which are directly taking money from cannabis sales and putting them back into grant applicants from those communities. These R3 grants are major. So if you want to know more about those, go back and listen to that LaShawn Ford episode. He really goes into great detail about where you can apply for them, what kinds of funds are available for people, and more like that. And if you want to know more about where the tax dollars for cannabis are going, as well as the other events that I mentioned, or anything related to cannabis news or events in or around Illinois, just head to IllinoisNewsJoint.com. And speaking of cannabis in Illinois, is there a local head shop you'd like to support, but the weather's not yet nice enough for you to get yourself over there? Or maybe do you feel like your piece collection is pretty dirty, dusty? You feel like you could use a new piece to use? You want to taste a new cannabis product cleanly and just without any kind of pollution from that dead resin? Head to 420pipes.com. I myself picked up a wonderful statement piece, as my friend Brenda Lee called it, of Tree Hugger Chicago. Statement piece from 420pipes.com of a stormtrooper head. This is a ceramic and glass piece. I took some photos and video of it, and I put it up on the show's Instagram page at C-Man Podcast on Twitter and Instagram. And I just love the stormtrooper piece. I got it over the weekend. I've been enjoying it ever since. It's very smooth. It was very reasonably priced, and it's now the prize piece in my collection. And 420pipes.com has stuff like this available every day of the week. If you're looking for just something cheaper and new to get yourself, they got products for $4.20 available every day of the week. If you want to have new products coming in every month, they have a subscription sample box. You can pay $10 a month, and you're going to get a box full of products from IllinoisNewsJoint.com arriving in the mail every month. So if that sounds good to you, or if you just want to get a statement piece like I did, like that Stormtrooper piece, or something else cool that's locally made, and maybe support a head shop that's near you, but not near enough for you to easily access or conveniently access, but you really like what they're doing, 420pipes.com has this wonderful Smoke Local initiative where they have a search bar on their website. You just click that Smoke Local and you input your zip code, and it'll populate a list of head shops that are near you, and you can order products from those head shops and they'll be shipped to you through 420pipes.com. So you can get a great deal on a locally made, well-made product. You can not break the bank by spending a reasonable amount on these, and you don't ever have to leave the comfort and delight of your own home. You can do all of this supporting them and getting new stuff just by heading to 420pipes.com, and at checkout, don't forget to use the promo code CannabisMan. You can knock 10% off your entire cart order. That would be 420, the numbers, 420pipes.com, promo code CannabisMan. Listener, welcome back. My next guest is a cannabis entrepreneur and a journalist as well, former journalist covering the cannabis industry as well. He's a native of Lebanon, Kentucky. He holds a degree from Centre College and Brown University, as well as the Columbia University. He published Cornbread Mafia in 2012, and that led him to covering Kentucky for the Washington Post, as well as cannabis policy for Politico. He is now co-founder of Cornbread Hemp, and they are making some really excellent products. It is a CBD-focused, Kentucky-based company, and they have gummies out, they have full-spectrum CBD capsules, as well as some lotion that I've tried, and I'm really looking forward to kind of getting some more information about the company and kind of bringing this to you, listener. So please help me welcome Jim Higdon, co-founder of Cornbread Hemp. Welcome, Jim.
Hey, thanks for having me. It was great.
That
was a great intro, by the way. I really appreciate that.
Hey, no problem at all. Thank you for stopping by, and thank you for the great work that you're doing. And I've talked to journalists on the show before. I feel like I kind of talk with a lot of different people in the space, but it must have been really fascinating for you. I guess just let's talk about Cornbread Mafia. That was 2012, and this seems to be kind of your, after school, I guess, that was kind of your entryway into covering cannabis. Was that how it went about?
Yeah, very much so. So I grew up in central Kentucky in this small town called Lebanon in Marion County that growing up was this headquarters focal point for a lot of outlaw cannabis growing, very much a Humboldt County, Mendocino County type situation in Kentucky, very rural and isolated. And a tight-knit Catholic community. And by 1989, prosecutors and law enforcement had arrested 70 men from my county on 30 farms across 10 states, growing what law enforcement said was 200 tons of cannabis. And of those 70, none of those guys talked. And so there was a press conference in the summer of 1989 where federal prosecutors laid out their case against these guys. And in the course of that press conference, one of the prosecutors referred to them as the Cornbread Mafia, and that's the name that stuck. And then when I went off to school, as an English major to be a writer, and first to Center and then to Brown. And while at Brown, I met a lot of really intelligent people who had, no concept or interest in Kentucky at all until I started talking about this Cornbread Mafia stuff. And so realizing that this story had some real currency in the culture, like a real weight, like it was an important story that needed to be told. I was, became obsessed really of figuring out a way to crack into this story. And it wasn't until going to the Columbia Journalism School in New York that I really got the toolkit necessary to really crack this open in a narrative way. And then I had a job at the New York Times that I quit when I sold the book, and left New York to go back home to Kentucky, and spent much longer than I anticipated, but spent a few years working on this book and getting the story and the cause and effect relationship of why this story would have happened in Kentucky, why Kentucky was uniquely well suited for cannabis cultivation, and why this happened where it did in my hometown. So I essentially wrote a book called Cornbread Mafia that's a sort of cultural history of my part of the world, and then the success of that book led me into a journalism career where, like you said, I was covering cannabis policy at a pretty high level for national publications. And in the course of doing that, 2018, so the book had been out for 6 years. I've been covering cannabis policy for a while, making a name for myself in the cannabis space as a journalist, and just really, found this opportunity to start an authentic brand from Kentucky that just didn't exist in the market. And at the same time, my cousin, Eric Zipperly, who's my co-founder, he's younger than I, and he's got the MBA and the e-commerce experience. And he was finishing a project and moving back to town. And he and I got together in late 2018 and hatched a plan for this company. And it's been nonstop ever since.
That is fantastic. Very, very cool. It sounds like a really fascinating journey. And I think I want to say, I know, I haven't written a book at all, and I hardly, I do broadcast journalism, so I haven't, and it's mostly anchoring. I haven't covered too many stories that deeply. So I think what the kind of effort and the kind of work that it takes. And as you said, it took you years, kind of unexpectedly sort of to really dive into the story and flesh it out. And I just want to say congrats on doing that and getting your book done and published and all that, because it seems like a very fascinating tale that needed to be told. It ties right into the company Cornbread Hemp that you and your cousin kind of founded together here. And I'm on the website now. The mission you guys highlight is to improve people's quality of life, and I talk about that a lot on the show. What cannabis can kind of offer people in that way, and you guys are very focused on CBD and a certain sort of quality standard with that. Can you talk a little about, just the beginning phase of the company and what you guys want to do with it?
Yeah, so, this has been a David and Goliath story from the beginning. We got started late in what we call, sort of the 2.0 batch of CBD brands in 2019 after the passage of the Farm Bill. So all the established brands were already there. They had a lot of money behind them, and we knew that we were starting small in a David and Goliath type situation. And in order to succeed as a David against Goliath, you have to make the best products. So we went about making the best products. And the way to do that is to focus on USDA organic quality ingredients and to maximize the THC content that's allowable in hemp under federal law. And because we're certified organic and really reaching for a premium place in the market, we haven't messed with Delta 8 or any of these THC isomers. Been very focused on providing certified organic vegan CBD gummies. So we use pectin instead of gelatin so that our products are vegan friendly. We also want to make sure that it includes as much naturally occurring Delta 9 THC as we can put in them. And that's about For our current formulations, it's 50 milligrams of CBD and 2 milligrams of THC per gummy.
Right. And let me just offer my personal opinion here too. I've tried the gummies, listener, and they are, I think what you were just talking about, Jim, there about like the substitute for gelatin that you guys are using. I say the taste that I get from your gummies, and I tried the peach flavor, which I loved it. My fiance loves it, so the taste is wonderful. There's kind of this some infused gummies have a aftertaste. I kind of have thought of it as like just like an infused, like the taste of infusion with some cannabis products. And what's really great about yours is that there's no trace of that. I mean, it's the peach flavor. The texture's really nice. It's got a sweetness that kind of falls off in a pleasant way. And I also really like the high CBD, low THC combination. As you did mention about, you're talking about like how some companies or some people are growing, trying to maximize THC content with their plants. And there are some people using the Delta 8 kind of, the imposter THC, right? Tell me about what it was, I guess, why did you choose that ratio of CBD to THC? What was it that made you guys kind of think that was a sweet spot?
Well, that's the naturally occurring ratio in the proprietary genetics that we grow. And because we're focused on making a certified organic product, there's really no tinkering with the ratio from plant to product. We do a flower-only extraction. We don't do a whole plant extraction, so there's no leaves and stems in our extract, which prevents a bitter aftertaste, which might be one of these things that your sense is missing in our product.
Yeah.
So the bite that a lot of CBD products have. By doing a flower-only extraction in certified organic ethanol, we ensure that our product has a very mild cannabis flavor and only cannabis flavor. So we do CBD oils too, but we don't flavor our oils because there's no need to, because it tastes like what it tastes like, and it's not bitter and gross because there's not a bunch of sticks and leaves in it.
Yeah, for sure. And that makes perfect sense. And I'm glad you said that too, because I'm thinking of it now, and that may be kind of this impeding some of the taste of other products. And I think it's just really cool that at Cornbread Hemp, you guys are focused on flower only. And I'm saying I can definitely verify that makes a difference compared with some of the other stuff that I have tried. I've also tried the lotion, like the CBD kind of topical there. And, that's something that I've found very interesting as well. And I know that it's become a lot more popular these days because of different reasons. Not just skin stuff, but there's some, there can be some joint pain relief for some people or sore spots, and they can get kind of relief from it from some cannabis products. What is it about your CBD lotion that is, that also makes that stand out?
You're going to ask me about it. I'm putting it on my hands right now. Like I'm a daily user of our CBD skin lotion. I've got a skin condition on my hands. I'm not making medical claims about our product, but I use our CBD lotion on my hands every day. And so one of the reasons I knew that CBD was legit back in 2018, when everyone was speculating out loud if it was just snake oil, was
right.
After years of looking for topicals for my hands for the skin condition that I have, I found a brand that made a CBD topical with CBD isolate, so not full spectrum, not certified organic, and it was just a game changer for my skin health. And so I knew that CBD as a topical was very important, and I knew that we could do better than what was out there. So we're the only, to my knowledge, the only CBD topicals on the market that are full spectrum, which includes THC and are certified organic. Certified organic is, for a agricultural product, and a lotion you think of as a cosmetic product. So it's not often that you see a certified organic lotion, and the longer the list of ingredients in a product, the more difficult it is for it to remain organic, because every ingredient, with some rare exceptions, must be also organic. And the chemistry of how those ingredients combine can be different because you're getting them from organic sources. So it's a real trick in our lab to get these products to bind as well as they do, and maintain the integrity of the organic program. So for folks who are looking for a clean skincare product to support their skin health, we've got the best one out there. And to your point, we also add menthol to our menthol lotion, which sort of helps with deep tissue penetration. So a popular part of our lineup.
Absolutely, and I can see why. I mean, I'm a big fan of gummies, and so when your gummies did make a strong impression on me. But I do make use of lotions and stuff myself, just to for dry skin and whatnot. And I tried some of Cornbread Hemp's CBD like lotion, and what I really liked about it was that lotion quality varies. There's some are more oily or whatever, and I really, yours did not sort of leave me feeling like my hands were too slippery after handling it. Kind of pleasant smell. There's not any kind of. I'm looking forward to trying the menthol, by the way. But for the regular CBD lotion, it's like there's not really any kind of chemical smell to it. There's not any kind of off-putting odor. I found it to be, and it's got an interesting color to it as well. I thought it's sort of, I don't know, I wouldn't say yellowish,
but buttery.
Yeah, buttery.
Yeah. And we add some other organic ingredients that complement the terpene profile. So there's some lemongrass in there and that sort of thing to sort of give it a little bouquet, so it's not one note. And it's just a really quality product, and don't get a chance to talk about the lotions very much. I'm glad you brought it up because I'm really proud of them. Yeah,
and you should be really. I mean, these really are great products. I don't talk about anything on the show that I'm not that I haven't tried and that I'm not behind. And I really, you guys are doing great stuff. And I just the gummies and the lotions are both excellent. And it makes sense, as you said. You guys you're taking this farm to table approach where you're not doing whole plant, which is you can see the extraction process from like big corporations. Let's say it almost feels like, the whole plant approach is mainly just because it's easier for them to do it in bulk, right? Like you just throw a bunch of plants into a machine and just chop it up and kind of, you do that mass production kind of style. Whereas you guys are taking this single plant, flower only extraction, farm to table kind of approach, and it's making a difference in the taste of the gummies, in the feel and smell of the lotion. It's good stuff. And I think it's more, it's kind of what people are looking for right now.
Exactly right. So, just to put a point on exactly what you just said, generally speaking, our much larger competitors, or they were much larger at one point, they're not as larger these days. But they came in thinking production scale at the beginning, and everything about their production process was all about maximizing output. And they made decisions based on that plan that sacrificed the quality of the product. Whereas we started small in artisanal batches, and then as we grew in popularity, we worked on ways to scale our process. So, now we're rocking, but we were rocking on a program that started small.
And it's awesome. I mean, that's just a great thing. That attention to detail, I think it makes itself known in the quality of the end result. And you guys definitely have that going on. I also mentioned the full spectrum CBD capsules. Can you talk a little about those? I haven't gotten to try them yet, but I'm interested in them. What's up with those?
Yeah, so our capsules are products we've been making since we started the company, and they're just a really loyal following with the capsules. They're rich in CBDA, so for folks who are cannabinoid nerds, understand that the CBDA is the undecarboxylated acid form of the cannabinoid, and some folks really respond well to it. So for the people who try our capsules, become incredibly loyal customers. So it's just been again really fulfilling, and just a section of our customer base, they lock into them and they're set. But one of the reasons why we were very intent on making gummies that were vegan friendly is that our capsules are not, because they're encased in gelatin, and gelatin is an animal product.
Right.
So we wanted to make sure, like with the capsules, we always had questions about the ingredients, and we wanted to make sure that we had an option available that was vegan friendly. So we explored pectin as an alternative to gelatin in the gummies, and it led us down a really rich path of formulation that results in this gummy that you have, which you've already pointed out. Like the mouthfeel of these gummies are different and a little more like luxurious than what you get from a gelatin gummy. Like they feel in your mouth like they're really, really good. And just a quality product. Like you know right away, like, oh, okay.
It is. Yeah, it's indulgent is the word that came to mind for me. Like when I first tried it, like that's exactly what I thought of to myself, because I love trying gummies, new cannabis gummies. You know, I'm a big proponent of them, and just trying these, the taste was great, but the texture was kind of what stood out almost, even more. I would say was just because it was different. Because I think I'm not super familiar with gummy making process, but I have to imagine a lot of them are probably gelatin based, and this.
Well, they're almost entirely gelatin based, and it's not an ingredient swap 1-to-1. Like switching out pectin for gelatin changes the entire chemistry of the process. So it's really fascinating. Like gelatin, you can have gelatin on a hot plate and heat it up and cool it down, and heat it up and cool it down, and it'll thicken and loosen as you apply heat to it. But pectin is a chemical process, and once you add it with a catalyst to the other ingredients, you've got about 30 seconds before it's set, and then it is set. So it changes the entire nature of the production process. So it's a commitment from the start that we're making to our vegan customers, and for people who want that, to your point, that indulgent feeling of a premium quality product. It changes the nature of the entire production process.
What's the future of Cornbread? What's the 5-year goal? What else would you like to bring?
5 years, Don? You're asking me to look 5 years in the future, like that? Gosh. I mean, like,
sorry about that.
There are so many things happening now that can change what's possible and plausible in 5 years. Like, first of all, we're releasing 3 new products this year. I'm not going to get into what they are before the time is right, but we're definitely getting ready to exercise some of the R&D work we've been doing. We've got new products in the pipeline.
Okay.
But the exciting thing is that the Farm Bill is going through Congress this year. We're going to D.C. in April to lobby Congress along with other leaders in the hemp industry to ensure to do as best we can to guide our members of Congress into making good decisions on hemp in the Farm Bill this year. One thing that we anticipate is that the THC threshold in hemp plants will be raised from 0.3% to 1.0, so more than triple the allowed THC in the plant. Now, on the product side, it will probably remain 0.3%, but with the increased flexibility on the crop side, we'll be able to make products with stronger ratios while still maintaining a legal limit on the THC side. So that's where some ratio flexibility in the future is where the full spectrum CBD market's going.
Gotcha. And that is very cool. And I mean, I get that. It's true. There's so much changing in the cannabis space now that it is hard to even, like looking 6 months ahead, it's tough to see. But it does feel like there's a lot of momentum federally to kind of get something done in terms of maybe decriminalizing or hopefully, sometime soon removing it from that Schedule 1 substance list, just kind of getting it to a place where we can maybe establish some interstate commerce, not make it so that like every state is its own country with their own cannabis laws. And I have to imagine, that you've had some experience with that, like with Cornbread and everything. And I'm not asking you to sort of like dish any dirt on anything, but how have you found Kentucky's cannabis market? And are you able to sell your products like online? Are you selling them in any other states? How has that been for you guys?
So Kentucky is one of 13 states without medical marijuana. So we're existing as a full spectrum hemp company without any cannabis industry to go along with us. The good news is as we speak in late March, a medical marijuana bill has passed out of the Kentucky Senate. It's headed to the Kentucky House. We anticipate it being signed by the governor and being made law by the end of this month, March 2023, for a medical market that will come online in 2025, I believe. So we've got some growth there in Kentucky to do to catch up with the rest of the civilized world.
Got it.
However, the benefit of that is building a company that is only focused on what we can sell federally through legal hemp products. Is that there's no restrictions about shipping our products across state lines. U.S. Postal Service comes and fetches a giant truckload of orders from us every day, and and they go to all 50 states, District of Columbia, and every U.S. territory. We've got customers in Guam and Puerto Rico and everywhere in between. So it's frustrating that we cannot ship to Canada and that sort of thing, but we ship to every state in the union.
Wow, that's fantastic. And listener, if you're interested right now, as I certainly think I would be, cornbreadhemp.com is a website where is that where people can place orders for the products?
Yeah, you got it.
Excellent. And you can, find out more about, Jim and Eric's stories, and you can see more of the great work that they're doing, and you can kind of check out some of the other products that they do have. One more thing, Jim, I wanted to mention here. I see that you guys are making full spectrum CBD products for pets as well. Can you speak a little about that? I'm curious about it. Is it helpful for, nervous dogs, calming, what pets, and what does it help with?
Yeah, so CBD for pets is, the same process, the same concept as CBD for people. It's really the target customer is nearly the same. We help anxiety in the little guys and mobility issues in the older fellas, or without making overt medical claims and without interviewing a bunch of dogs. Although there has been some dog studies that have been fairly efficacious. The real question from pet owners that we get the most is what's the right serving size for a dog or a cat, and that answer is always based on body weight. Mm-hmm. And so we do a lot of education about appropriate serving size for our CBD oil for pets, ours is corn dog flavored, which is sort of a proprietary savory blend that we put in there that makes it more palatable to dogs and cats.
Nice. You said corn dog? Corn dog flavor? Corn dog
flavored for the cornbread.
Yeah. That's awesome. Who doesn't love a corn dog? Those are great.
It's a fun flavor.
Yeah, totally.
And it really depends, like the serving size really depends on body weight. So for a full dropper of our oil for pets is good for an 80-pound dog, and a quarter dropper is good for a regular sized cat, and you can kind of gauge it up and down from there. And then I have a 100-pound Mastiff at home, so he gets adult strength, like human strength CBD product.
Yeah, yeah, I bet. No, that's a great point. I'm glad you mentioned that, sort of the body weight thing. Just like with people, that obviously dictates dosage, right? Like the amount of any kind of substance that you would give. That makes perfect sense to me, and it's cool to know. And it's just another kind of example of I think the lengths you guys are going to at Cornbread Hemp to try and improve people's quality of life in different ways. And it seems like you guys are being very successful at that. And fingers crossed that law does go through with Kentucky. But either way, listener, you can head to cornbreadhemp.com at any time and avail yourself of some of these great products and try them out. Jim, I like to end these things by doing these quick hits questions, like just what's your favorite, food and music, stuff like that. Are you game for this?
Yeah, let's do it.
Right on. All right, cool. First quick hit I usually start with is morning bird or night owl. Which are you?
I used to be a night owl, but starting your own business makes you a morning person pretty quick.
Yes, sir. I do believe that, like, a transition between, from one to the other, it's kind of a rite of passage of life. At some point, like down the line, I think a lot of people have some responsibility that usually starts getting them up early, I think. Favorite cuisine, cuisine or food, like if you're celebrating something or you just sort of anything you're happy to eat anytime, whether it's something that somebody close to you might make or a restaurant that you want to go and get something at. Where's the meal that you're going to celebrate with?
So we just spend a week in California with the Cornbread team, and we hit every Thai restaurant we could find in California because we just love great Asian flavors that we can't always get where we're at. So for the moment, I'm going to say Thai food.
That's a great choice. Love some good Thai food. I'm a fan of red curry duck, or really anything with duck that they do with Thai food. Huge proponent of that myself. Substance of choice, and I ask this of all my guests, like, hemp, obviously we're talking about, CBD and the gummies. It can be cannabis, but, are you a coffee drinker? Do you like tea during the day, wine or beer at night? What's a substance you like?
I'm a big-time coffee drinker. I'll go through probably more than my share in the morning. In the evening, in addition to some good organic full-spectrum hemp products, I like to unwind with a hazy IPA these days. It's like a nice fruity IPA that takes the edge off the hops. That suits me at the moment.
Excellent. Yeah, love IPAs. Big, those are there's. I feel like they've kind of got a bad rap for some reason over a while, but like I've always been a big fan of those. Especially the hazy ones. Those are really nice. Favorite movie or TV? Like, what do you like to watch? If it's something that it's a classic that you're always happy to put on, or if you come across it, you'll just leave it on wherever it is. What's something you like to watch?
I grew up kind of a comic book nerd as a teenager, so these Marvel movies really hit the spot.
Yeah, me too. I've been enjoying them. Now, I feel like maybe the last year or so, I guess, maybe it's not as much, but like I always go back to that Infinity War arc, the 10 years of like 2008 to like 2019 or whatever. That's like an epic storyline. Those poems from back in the day, like Beowulf and Grindelwald and all that, it's like that's the highest level that any of them would have wanted to attain. It's a story that was told over a decade and several movies and shows and stuff. I mean, that was amazing.
Yeah. It's I mean, I don't think it gets the credit that it's due. It's really sort of transformative in certain of the cinematic history. There's a before and an after.
Yeah, great point. Yeah, and you think about those, like the post-credit scenes and all of that. It's like, yeah, that there is a before and an after. That's fascinating. And then I guess, are you a sports guy? Sports team, or if you like to watch stuff, or if there's a local team that you like to go and see their games, or anything. What sports you like?
My Kentucky Wildcats just lost in the NCAA tournament yesterday, so thanks for bringing that up. That's the real.
Sorry about that.
Real downer.
Hey, I was Marquette lost too, and I was really rooting for them as well. So I feel your pain. I really do.
And then before the pandemic, anyway, I used to drive once a year up past you in Chicago, up to Green Bay for a home game in Lambeau. So,
hell yeah.
Packers fan.
Yeah, hey, I am actually, and this will be my first time admitting it on the show, but I am a Packers fan as well. Born in Wisconsin and raised in Chicago. To my poor mother, who's a diehard Bears fan, to her everlasting shame, I'm a Packers fan, and I love going to Lambeau myself. And right there with you on that. That's Mecca if you like football. Lambeau really is great.
Yeah, it's a special trip. If you haven't done it, you need to.
Totally agree. And also, I would say if you haven't tried Cornbread Hemp's gummies or any products, I would say you really need to try that as well. And I really look forward to what the future for Cornbread holds, and more from Jim Higdon and his cousin Eric as well. Thank you so much for stopping by today, Jim. And I really like the work you're doing. Keep it up.
Thanks, Don. It's really great to hear you say cornbreadhemp.com in your radio voice. It sounds really good.
Well, thanks. My pleasure. And I hope we can talk again in the future.
All right. Thanks, Don. Talk to you later.
And there you have it. I want to thank my guest one more time, Jim Higdon of Cornbread Hemp. Listener, I was not just blowing smoke before. Let me tell you, these gummies, the Cornbread Hemp gummies, these things, I believe, are going to be very popular in a few years. I think it's not going to be long before everybody knows the name Cornbread Hemp. It's going to be a cannabis standard, I believe. And that is because of the mouth feel of the pectin gummies. That's not just something that makes it sort of different or some kind of novelty. The difference in mouthfeel of this gummy is unlike any other gummy that I have ever tried. It is something unique. It is something very cool, and I do think we're going to see some mimicry of this technique in the future. But Cornbread Hemp is the one who originated this, and you owe it to yourself to check that out. So if you go to cornbreadhemp.com, I can personally vouch for those peach-flavored gummies as well as the lotion that you heard Jim and I talking about in the interview there. But they've got other flavors of gummies, and I'm certainly looking forward to sampling them, and I encourage you to do the same. And finally, listener, let's get back to that big news from the weekend. The NBA now going to allow players, both in the NBA and the WNBA, to not only, they're not banning them anymore for testing positive for cannabis use, but not only that, they're allowing the players to invest in and promote cannabis products from the industry. This is such a major movement forward. I realize that, you, like me, listener, have probably been waiting for this for a long time. It's very exciting to finally see it, and I, for one, have to applaud the NBA for standing up and just admitting something that's not yet sort of safe to do for these big global brands. The federal government still has cannabis as a Schedule I substance, and that's a big part of why the NFL, for instance, hasn't made any kind of statement like this or made any kind of moves to let's say, move the goalpost or basically help progress move along. The NFL's been playing playing it safe and taking their cue from the federal government. Bravo to the NBA for having some balls and standing up and saying this is the truth of what the matter is. We know our players are using this. By the way, the NBA has stopped testing for cannabis 3 years ago. It was just a probationary thing that they started, but now with this new collective bargaining agreement, they're going to continue that practice going forward. They're not testing for cannabis anymore, and they're allowing these players. You're going to start seeing Kevin Durant. You'll start seeing a Steph Curry maybe, or a Draymond Green. You'll start seeing these stars partnering with cannabis products, and you're going to start to see ad campaigns for CBD and other products as they become more legalized in different states. And I personally can't wait for this. But in addition to applauding the NBA, I have to take this opportunity to really stick it to the NFL. Because my God, you were the one, you had the last 20 some years, you have known that your players have been using this plant to help them avoid opioids, to help them with the body pain that comes from playing the violent game that you're making a ton of money on. These people, the NFL has had about 20 some years at least, if not more, to be the leader on this issue. They could have came out and said a long time ago, they could have been in this position to be a true cultural leader in the cannabis industry, in this space. They could have been brave. Do you know what kind of loyalty that's going to do for the brand, this kind of social statement? I think there's going to be a lot of people that 20, 30 years down the line, they're going to remember that the NBA was the first to take this step. The MLB said they were going to partner with some CBD strains. That, I believe, is still on hold now. They've talked about it, but there's nothing official as far as I know. I might be wrong about that, and you can hit me up at C-Man Podcast on Twitter or Instagram, or leave a question or a comment with the link in the show description notes there. Or you can always use the show website, cannabismanpodcast.com, and just contact me there. So let me know if I'm wrong about that, but in my mind, the NBA is now the first to announce this, and they'll be the first to implement it. And we all, I think all of us, I'm a fan of the NFL. I said on a talk on the Wisdom app this week, if you haven't checked out the Wisdom app, listener, it's kind of social media for podcasters. They ask great questions. People host live talks all the time, and I do that at least once or twice a week. I'm just on there as Cannabis Man, so you can find me there too. But I was talking about this yesterday on that Wisdom app, and what I said was that I sort of have come to the belief that the NFL is sort of like America's religion, like its chief operating religion. Everybody worships at that altar on Sundays, not only during this season now, but you see the way they're promoting the draft, this first week of free agency in March, the news that's breaking all the time, the coverage of OTAs and training camp and all that. The NFL is a year-round circus, and it is America's number one pony of entertainment. And they have had this opportunity, they've had this golden opportunity where there are high-profile examples of great players who have used cannabis to rehab themselves, to prevent themselves from maybe getting hooked on some worse prescription drug to deal with the pain that comes from playing the NFL for years. They had a very clear opportunity to sit on this throne of the first major sport league, to stand up and say cannabis is beneficial and these players are using it, and you know what? Go right ahead. America approves of it. We have 70% of the country that says it should be legalized. Let's just move this thing down the road. Congress, you can take your cue from us. This is happening. But the NFL never did that. They never stood up. They never found the testicular fortitude to stand up and take that risk. They said, our money is too important. We'll take our cue from the federal government, and we will just hang here, sweep all those headlines of the players using it under the rug, continue to suspend players for availing themselves of the medical benefits of this plant. We'll continue along with that 20th century stupidity, and we'll allow somebody else like the NBA to come be the captain of this ship and come lead everybody into the 21st century and make a cultural statement and enjoy the brand loyalty that comes with that. That's what we'll do as the NFL. We'll keep being the old men stick in the mud, meeting in Arizona, and pretending like the status quo is perfectly fine. Well, good for you. And maybe I'm naive. Maybe this ultimately isn't going to mean anything for the NFL's bottom line. I don't actually believe that fewer people are going to watch the NFL because of this cannabis stance. I don't believe that. But I do believe that maybe some more people will watch NBA games. Maybe some of the fans of the NBA will like it even more because of this cultural stance they've taken. And the NFL's not going to enjoy any of that brand loyalty controversy, and I don't think history is going to look too fondly on a sport league that is stuck in the mud and just timidly awaiting a green light from the federal government, who we all know is well behind on this issue. So bravo to the NBA. I personally look forward to the first ad campaigns we're going to be seeing. Which player, I wonder, is going to be, sort of on a national ad chain for some cannabis product. But let me know in the comments or replies if you have an idea of who you think is going to be the first one, or which NBA team you think could have an opportunity to really jump into this cannabis space. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And always feel free to reach out if you have any questions about guests or topics you'd like to see covered, or recommend some products. I love trying new cannabis products. I like bringing new products to your attention so that you can look out for them and try them when you have the opportunity. And I love to find out more of those. So you can always reach me at the show pages at C-Man Podcast on Twitter and Instagram, and it's the Cannabis Man Podcast on Facebook. And keep on spreading the word. I really appreciate everyone for leaving the great ratings and reviews of the show. Any way that you listen to this, on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, the whole works. However you get this podcast, there's usually a way to leave a rating or a review. And if you like what I'm doing here, those really help me keep this going. So I appreciate everybody who's done that so far. And if you haven't, please do me a favor and go do one whenever you have a chance. That's it for me today, and I will be back again next week with another interview. And by the way, listener, I have got a very special interview coming up for you on the 1-year anniversary of the show, which is fast approaching 4/20 of this year. April 20th will be my 1-year anniversary. That was the date that I released my first 2 episodes last year in 2022, was April 20th. And this year I have a wonderful interview with a huge guest, the biggest guest I've had on this show. You recognize their name. I guarantee it. You will know who they are, and you will be interested in what they have to say. I guarantee you that. Really looking forward to bringing that interview to you. I will make an announcement soon as to who that guest is and release some clips ahead of the publication, but keep an eye and ear out for those, listener. And I'll be back again next week with another episode of the Cannabis Man Podcast. Bye-bye. Cannabis Man is an original production of myself, Don Kleppen. Original theme music by Yusu Kim, aka Goodson. Other music by Pat Perez, and logo designed by Vorbroker Media. If you like the show, please rate, review, subscribe, and share whenever you can.